Let's talk about one of the biggest issues that has worried Ghanaians this week and, of course, from last week. The Health Ministry has confirmed the outbreak that has so far claimed 4 lives as the KUMACA Academy is as a result of an acute respiratory infection. It says out of 19 samples tested at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, 12 of them tested positive for influenza type A, which is an H1N1 strain. Now, for those of us who may not know, H1N1 is commonly known as swine flu. Health Minister Kweku Agyeman has been addressing a news conference here in Accra.
As you're all aware, the KUMACA Academy was struck with an unusual health event, resulting in the death of 4 of the students. First and foremost, we wish to express our sympathy and condolences to the parents, guardians and families, as well as the school authorities who have lost their dear ones in this unfortunate event. On the 1st of December 2017, the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service received information about the death of 2 students in KUMACA Academy Senior High School, popularly known as KUMACA, in the Ashanti region, which occurred a day before. The Ministry of Health immediately activated and deployed a multidisciplinary rapid response team to start response actions to the threat with the following terms of reference: to provide technical and logistic support, verify the report and identify the underlying factors, prevent further spread, and contain the situation. Based on the symptoms and signs of the first cases, the following were listed in decreasing order as the most likely differential diagnosis: meningitis, acute viral hemorrhagic fever, including Ebola virus disease, acute respiratory infection, ARI. These were initially the cases that the directors, the medical experts were suspecting to be the matter. It is important to note that a similar event that occurred in April 2017 turned out to be established as meningitis type C. Coupled with the onset of the meningitis season and some pathological findings observed, initially suspicion focused on meningitis and viral hemorrhagic fevers, for which all turned out not to be the case. Details on laboratory investigations. Cerebrospinal fluid, blood, and throat swabs were sent to Noguchi, KUMACA Center for Collaborative Research, National Public Health Reference Laboratories, and the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital for confirmation of cases. And the results, as at close of 6th of December 2017, are as follows. Noguchi, 26 blood samples sent for PCR and tested for Ebola, Lassa, Marburg, all proved negative. All proved negative. So all the tests done in Noguchi on the suspicious cases had all been proved negative. The KUMACA Center for Collaborative Research, 55 samples were sent, and 15 throat swabs, 13 blood samples, and 10 CSF samples were investigated at KCCR for meningitis, encephalitis, and VHF, and the results are also as follows. CSF, cell type through count, gram stain culture, negative. PCR, negative. Throat swab, PCR for meningitis, negative. Blood culture for meningococcal or any sepsis, negative. Serum for serological tests for encephalitis and VHF, negative. KUMACA pH laboratory. 6 CSF samples sent and tested with meningitis pasteurix and negative for Neisseria meningitis, H, influenza type B, E. coli, strep pneumonia, group B streptococcus, and CW, all negative. National Public Health Reference Laboratory, Accra. 4 blood samples sent and tested with meningitis pasteurix and negative for Neisseria meningitis, H influenza, E. coli, strep pneumonia, group B streptococcus, CW, all negative. Confanochi Teaching Hospital. We're still awaiting results of the cerebrospinal fluids and blood samples sent to Confanochi Hospital. Autopsy on the deceased. Postmortem examination has been done on one of them who arrived at the hospital dead. Initial reports suggest internal bleeding of the lungs and the gastrointestinal tract. Arrangements have been made for a team of pathologists to conduct autopsy on the rest of the cases. Review of differential diagnosis. The next line of investigation was to rule out any acute respiratory infections, since a few of the students were showing respiratory signs and symptoms. Further review of the cases on the 5th of December 2017 showed that 27 out of the 32 cases on admission had the following symptoms and signs: fever, headache, joint and bodily pains, cough, abdominal chest signs, abnormal chest signs on auscultation. As a result of this observation and the fact that no care had since signs of meningism, all laboratory results for meningitis were negative. No lab test findings suggested bacterial infection or viral hemorrhagic fever. The differential diagnosis was revised in decreasing order as follows: acute respiratory infection, ARI, atypical bacterial disease, unusual febrile illness. Following the review of the case definition, appropriate samples, that's throat swabs, were taken and immediately sent to Noguchi Memorial Institute for Memorial Research and KUMACA Center for Collaborative Research, again for further laboratory investigations. Of the 19 samples sent to Noguchi, 12 tested positive for influenza type A. About 2 hours ago, report on further tests was received confirming influenza type A H1N1 209 pandemic strain. Let me repeat that part. Of the 19 samples sent to Noguchi, 12 tested positive for influenza type A. About 2 hours ago, report on further tests was received confirming influenza type A H1N1 209 pandemic strain. We are awaiting the results of samples sent to KCCR, and we're not expecting that will be very different from what we have found from all the other research centers.
Now we stay with updates with this particular revelation because the head of disease surveillance at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Bequin, is calling for nationwide surveillance in the wake of the detection of this disease at KUMACA Academy. Dr. Bequin says the virus spreads when you are in close contact with an affected person. He was speaking with Love FM's A HINI.
The good thing is that H1N1, this is not the first time of it in Ghana. 2011, there were a number of outbreaks. I particularly managed an outbreak in a school in Ashanti Akinsa, Bombata. So it doesn't normally kill. Luckily, we also have vaccines. There are also antiviral agents for treatment. So one thing I want to say that we are not going to rely on these extremes. Somebody can get a disease and your normal immunity can help you overcome it. I think the vaccines will be procured from WHO is the lead agency, so there's consultation between the ministry and WHO. So the vaccines, I'm not sure when, but as early as possible, because we are for a start, we are looking at maybe KUMACA Academy and maybe a few of the health facilities. So it's not a large quantity, so that can easily be brought within a matter of days if it's ready. Luckily, there was a meeting that ended yesterday in Accra. So the global meeting on pandemic influenza in the world. So luckily, most of the experts are in Ghana. So the request is being put to them. I can't for sure say when. We're also going to get the antiviral agents when there's a need to treat. So I want to stress, when there's a need to treat, it's not every case that you need to treat. You see, the bad outcomes of H1N1 is when you are at the extremes of life, very young or very old, or when you have an underlying health event, like a health condition, when you have a cardiac problem or a kidney problem, then you are likely to succumb. Other than that, when you have the infection, you can actually survive on it by just taking good care of yourself, drinking good water and good rest. So I think that we are happy that the end results are going to be good. For the past 3 days, we had 6 cases 2 days ago. Yesterday we had 3. So we think that the infection is on the downward.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we will continue to record new cases, right?
Yes, because you see the disease has an incubation period. So people were exposed. So some of them who were exposed will get the disease. So we are expecting that there will be a gradual decline until there's 0 cases.
Doctor, there are suggestions that KUMACA Academy for now should be cordoned off so that people don't troop in. Once that we know is H1N1. As an expert, what will be your take on this?
Oh, you see, one thing is that the virus normally spreads when you are close to somebody. So if you are more than 1 meter apart, the chance of you getting the infection is minimal because the virus resides in the throat of the individual. So as I cough or sneeze or yawn, like you, the way we are close, if I have the disease or I have the virus, I can share it to you. But if you are further away, then there's no need of consent. So let's make sure that we are maintaining a wider distance. Let's also make sure that we have the good etiquette, like a cough etiquette. You know, when you're coughing or sneezing, your mouth and your nose must be covered. Then you are not transporting or transmitting the virus to each other.
So are you extending the surveillance to Asokwemampo municipality or the township, for instance?
Our surveillance system is nationwide now. The idea is that we don't know how far the students went. But what we want to tell people is that when you are there and have a fever, you have a sore throat or a cough, go to the nearest health facility. At that point, you'll be tested. We'll do a throat swab. Samples will be sent to Noguchi, and then if it's H1N1, you'll be treated. So for now, for this event, we are going to kind of send an enhanced alert that everybody must keep watch, looking for the H1N1. So when somebody counts, if a fever, headache, sore throat, or cough, look for it. Immediately, you need to make sure you alert our system. We'll take a sample and then we'll send it to Noguchi so that if the disease are going beyond our borders that we know now, then it will get killed.
Dr. Franklin Bequin is head of disease and surveillance at the Ghana Health Service. Now, in case you are unsure as to what to do during an outbreak like this, or you don't know exactly what H1N1 is, here are some tips for you. As the Watching News Desk, I am Daniel Daze, and let me just inform the public that if you have been in or around the KUMACA Academy School, if you've been in contact with anybody who has been in the school, it will be necessary for you to first of all report to your nearest health center and also make plans to go back to the school where there are currently vaccinations ongoing and medication is being administered to some of these students. So Watching News Desk, there's more on this, more education on this right after this. Still live on News Desk, like I said, let's get some more education on this particular disease that has broken out in KUMACA. We've been joined on the line by Professor Edwin Afari. He is a field epidemiologist with the School of Public Health. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning. You're faint, right?
Right. Sir, if you can hear me now, would like to know, first of all, Prof, can...
Hello? Hello?
Right, Prof, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, good morning, Prof.
Good morning. Good morning.
Right. Thanks for joining us. So we want to know, first of all, how can we prevent this particular situation from spreading beyond the walls of KUMACA Academy?
Right. I think now we know that, it's influenza, that's the swine flu, and it's a respiratory tract infection, and it spreads through cough, sneezing, and also touching things which are contaminated with the infection.
Prof, can you please raise your voice? Yeah, speak up a bit for us.
Sorry, because I'm in the traffic. That's why, Yeah. I'm saying that now we know that the disease is swine, disease, and that is a respiratory tract infection, and that is spread through cough, sneezing, or touching items, materials that have been contaminated, by the infection. So once we know this, then there should be an education, to the general population that we should have the basic, personal hygiene when sneezing, covering our nose and our mouth from using tissues or a tissue or handkerchief. And then also making sure that we are washing our hands regularly, with soap. Now, should we, experience, if we have been to KUMACA, to the school, and we've been in contact with anybody from there, then if we have fever, chill, and we feel that we are not well, we need to report to the nearest health facility, for more examination and also for support. So now we know what the disease is, how it's transmitted.
Yeah.
And so it's now education. And fortunately, if that is done, individuals will be able to prevent themselves from getting a disease,
right,
and also spreading it to the wider population.
Right. Now, concern has been raised because recently there was the 60th anniversary for KUMACA Academy, which saw so many people gathering at that same place. And are any of these people in any danger, looking at the fact that it's only a few days ago that students started showing some symptoms, and well, even before that, some students have shown symptoms and a couple have died. But looking at the fact that the situation has gotten worse after the speech day, are any of these persons in any form of danger?
Well, when it started, I think the team there, gave some recommendation and said that we should allow the students to be there and that the parents should not rush there. But as you are aware, this one, when some of them took their children away, Well, all that we can say is that if you've been there, and or you are in contact with anybody who has been there, or with a student, the possibility is that you may have some, you were contact. And once you were contact, you should be aware that, the disease is transmitted through, sneezing, coughing, as I said. So, if you have fever, if you have headache, chills, and you are vomiting, and you are having diarrhea, and you are not feeling well, you should contact the nearest health facility, and you'll be helped. You see, so it's education. If we do that, individuals will be able to prevent themselves from getting the disease, and also prevent themselves, or also try not to spread the disease to their immediate contact in their homes, and also to the general population as a whole.
But looking at the way this disease is able to spread, looking at the way this disease can easily, and looking at the health care system that we have in Ghana, would you say we have the risk of an epidemic on our hands?
Well, we know that there's an outbreak now. There's an outbreak. You call it an epidemic. There's an outbreak, okay? So once the disease is there, and we're not supposed to have that, so there's an outbreak. But
is there a risk of its rising to the levels of, an epidemic?
Well, if there's a disease and nothing is done about it, that's what's going to happen. But now the Minister of Health and all those concerned, have put in place measures to make sure that it doesn't spread, So now our main concern should be educating everybody, especially those who have been there, those who have children there, and they have, contact with people who have been there, to and not everybody, who has been in contact, will have the disease.
Right. But are you satisfied with these steps by the ministry, which is supposed to prevent an epidemic?
I think the ministry has taken all the measures. When it started, the way they want, to investigate, and with information available to them, because you cannot wait until you have found the positive agent for maybe treatment. And they started, with the information available to them, they started, managing the cases and containing the infection. And now that we know, they started education and so on. So I'm sure, for me, I think that the measures they put in place are the right direction.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Edwin Afari. Still watching News Desk.